Good morning, students. Today we can start our topic with the regulation of digestive activity. With this section, with the today's class, we can finish our nutrition physiology chapter. So let's start. Neural and hormonal regulation of digestion. As we know, so many processes are happening, so many activities are happening inside our body, in our gastrointestinal tract for digesting the food particles that we eat. So those activities need some control, and that control is done by neural as well as hormonal. So we can go and see what is happening here. Some gastrointestinal reflexes we need for initiating the reflexes. Reflexes in a simple way you need to understand as responses. When a food reaches in our stomach, the stomach need to respond to that food. How the response happen? What is that response? Response means nothing. It is the digestion action done by the stomach over that food. For that, it needs some presence of digestive enzymes secreted by certain glands associated with the digestive tract. So that responses need to be initiated. That responses togetherly called gastrointestinal reflexes. So for initiating that reflexes, some stimulus are required. Some stimulus are required to initiate the gastrointestinal reflexes. So let's see which all the stimulus. So one by one, I will tell you which are the stimulus that initiating the gastrointestinal reflexes. First one is very clear to you if we think itself. Whenever our stomach is full with food, that distension means what? Distension of stomach itself a stimulus. The body, the digestional tract, that controlling body itself identify that something has entered the stomach and we need to act upon that. So that way, the distension of stomach itself a stimulus. Stomach is distended as it filled with the food. Distension of lumen is one stimulus for initiating the gastrointestinal reflexes. Other stimuluses are chyme osmolality. Chyme, we know what is that. Chyme's acidity. Osmolality means the concentration or amount of solute particles. Then chyme acidity. Then concentration of specific digestion products. Amount of different digestion products that present inside the stomach. All these acts as a stimulus to initiate gastrointestinal reflex. Then what will happen? When any of this stimulus occurs, it will stimulate some receptors on the wall of the stomach. When these receptors got stimulated, what will happen? It stimulates some other effectors. Effectors means the main region, the main factors, the main agents that need to act upon the food. Which may be the effectors, maybe some glands, maybe some muscle cells. Muscle cells, what they will do? They act to they are together they may act to create some peristaltic movement. Glands, what they will do? They secrete digestive juice. All those come under the effectors category. So that's all. Whenever all these stimulus occurs, any of the stimulus occurs, gastrointestinal reflexes are initiated and stimulate the receptors, special receptors present in the wall of the stomach, that which in turn stimulate some effectors that may be of Which all come under the effectors? Some muscle layers in the wall of the digestive tract, exocrine glands for secreting digestive enzymes. And these receptors, what all can access receptors? Certain mechanoreceptors can sense the distension of stomach. Osmoreceptors are there. Then chemoreceptors, chemical change detecting receptors are there. All these are the receptors responsible to stimulate the effectors in the stomach. So we can go to the nervous control. Why we are talking about nervous control here? Till here, we understand that whenever food or any food as a substance reach in our stomach, digestive gastrointestinal reflex need to start, and gastrointestinal reflex means some receptors in the stomach wall get stimulated. Next, what is the step? That stimulation need to be conveyed to the effector. That conveying process happens only with the help of nerves. There come the nerves control. Okay, so let's go and see that. For the gastrointestinal tract action regulation, there is a local network system. Its name is enteric nervous system. What's the name of a local nervous system for regulating the gastrointestinal tract activities? That is none other than enteric, ende of gastrointestinal tract, enteric nervous system. Okay, so this enteric nervous system composed of two plexus, myenteric plexus and submucous plexus. What is meant by this plexus? Plexus is nothing, simply is a network. Means myenteric plexus means a myenteric network of neurons is there. Submucous plexus is another group of nerves that forms a network. So two types of networks together forms the enteric nervous system to control the gastrointestinal tract path regulation. So which are the component parts that forms the enteric nervous system? Myenteric plexus and submucous plexus. So we can see what's this arrangement in the wall of the stomach. Here in this picture we can see two networks. It's a transverse section of intestinal wall. Here we can see the submucous plexus is passing in this way, and myenteric plexus is innervating in this way. And these both exist as in the form of plexus. That means a network. And each plexus are synapsed with each other. At the same time, they are synapsing with the myenteric plexus, or otherwise myenteric plexus is synapsing with the submucous plexus. What is the use of it? If any point a stimulation happens, it can be easily spread or passed to other points and to the myenteric plexus, as it is all interconnected. So I think you understand that. Enteric nervous system responsible for gastrointestinal tract regulation, composed of two plexus, myenteric plexus and submucous plexus. It is innervating the intestinal wall in the form of a network. They are synapse. The neurons of submucous plexus and myenteric plexus are synapsed with each other, and also nerves of submucous plexus are synapsing with the nerves of myenteric plexus. In this way, because of this synapses stimulus that happen, any point of this nerve network can easily convey to every area, and all area can work together. That is the significance of this plexus. Then one more one more system of nerves controlling the gastrointestinal tract activity. What is that? Sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves of autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system, most of its activities are involuntary. Involuntary means it's not according to our will. Then that means sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves are innervating. Their role comes in which all area that is involuntary. Then they also, this sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves also make synapses with this meandric and submucal plexus. In this way, every nerve system can be simulated very easily at the point of reception of a stimulus at any point of this nervous system. So, then we didn't tell anything about the central nervous system. Central nervous system means brain and spinal cord. So what's its role? It also should have some role because it's the main part. For neural regulations, head of the department is central nervous system. So that also should have some control over all these things. So how it controls? Central nervous system controls the activity of gastrointestinal tract through controlling enteric nervous system and autonomic nervous system. As a whole and overview, I think you understand everything. Local network system for gastrointestinal tract regulation is enteric nervous system. It's composed of meandric plexus, submucal plexus. It's passing through the transversing through the intestinal wall as a network, and it is gets synapsed with the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves of ANS, and the whole gastrointestinal tract is controlled by central nervous system through controlling enteric nervous system and nerves of autonomic nervous system. Okay, and in the controlling process, a special type of control pathway also running, that is without involving the central nervous system. That is that control pathway involves only this submucal plexus and meandric plexus, and sometimes sympathetic and parasympathetic. That type of control regulation of gastrointestinal tract without involving central nervous system is called intra intratract neural reflexes. So that means there exist two types of regulation. Yes, here exists two pathways of regulation. That is short reflex and long reflex. Short reflex without involving central nervous system, and low reflex involving the central nervous system. Reflex means response. Response means action on food. That we need to understand. We need to keep it in our mind. So we are dealing with the short reflex. In short reflex, what is happening? Short reflex, upon receiving the stimulus by the receptor. Stimulus, we know what all the stimulus. On receiving all the stimulus by the receptor, that stimulus is passing to submucal plexus and meandric plexus, and it is then conveying to the effector cells. Effector cells means the cells that need to act on the food. That may be glands or muscles. It's very short pathway. There is no involvement of central nervous system. So it is called a short reflex. Then come to long reflex. When on reception of stimulus by the receptor, that stimulus is sent to the central nervous system through afferent. Afferent nerves are types of nerves every time taking impulse or message to the central nervous system. So afferent nerves take that stimulus to the central nervous system, and central nervous system is passing instruction to, and that passing of message from central nervous system always through some efferent nerves. And here central nervous system pass that message and through efferent nerves of autonomic nervous system to whom? To submucous plexus and meandric plexus. And that from here, this is the local system, local police station. From here, that signal is sending to the main effector cells to act on that particular food. And that stimulus, it's already I told you, sight of food, the smell of food, the emotional state of individual can all access stimulus. That about the neural control, I think is very clear to you. Then what remains? Hormonal control. We can go and see that. Hormonal control is controlled by endocrine cells of stomach and intestinal cells. Endocrine cells means what? Such type of cells that is secreting hormones. Endocrine cells, endocrine cells that present in the stomach and in the intestinal walls secrete some hormones for regulating the digestion and to stop digestion whenever required. When there is no food in the stomach, there is no need of secretion of any type of digestive enzyme. So certain hormones should be there to stop the secretion of digestive enzymes. So we can go and see that. Important hormones are secretin, cholecystokinin, gastrin, glucose, insulinotropic peptide. First is secretin. Secretin, first point, is produced by which cell? From where it is produced, that we need to understand and to write for the exam. Um, Endocrine cells of intestinal epithelium. Intestinal epithelial endocrine cells are secreting which hormone? Secretin. And when its secretion happens, secretion how? In what time? It is secreted in the gastrointestinal tract. When the luminal pH is less than 5, that means acidic. Luminal pH is less than 5, then the endocrine cells of intestinal epithelium get stimulated to secrete the secretion of secretin. And that secretin is secreted, which in turn stimulate the secretion of pancreatic juice. Clear? When the luminal pH is less than 5, endocrine cells of intestinal epithelium stimulated, and what is secreted? Secretin is secreted. When secretin is secreted, it stimulates the secretion of pancreatic juice from the pancreas, that is rich in pancreatic enzyme for further digestion. That is the role of secretin. Secretin is secreted by intestinal epithelium, and when its secretion happens when lumen's pH reach less than 5, that is becoming more acidic. And when it is secreted, it stimulates the pancreas gland to pancreas to secrete its enzymes. Okay, then we need to know the normal pH. Normal pH is around somewhat 7.4, in that range. So acidosis means whenever our pH drops below 7.35. And also when alkalosis happens when pH is higher than 7.45. That's the range. When that means pH, when it becomes less than 5, means it's more acidic. Acidic means food is already reached, HCl already secreted, and yeah, again some more actions, some more digestive process need to be happened in the food that reached in the stomach. That is the meaning. So that's why the intestinal epithelial cells is secreting secretin hormone, and which in turn stimulate the secretion of pancreatic enzymes from pancreas. Next hormone is cholecystokinin. It is secreted by the epithelial endocrine cells of small intestine. Secreted by epithelial endocrine cells of small. It's also secreted from small intestine. Small intestines, which part? Epithelial cells. Epithelial endocrine cells. Okay. Next slide. What is the function of this cholecystokinin? When in the small intestine, as a result of partial digestion of food, fats, peptides, amino acids are formed. Due to its presence, small intestine endocrine cells become stimulated, and it secretes the cholecystokinin. And what it do? It stimulates the gallbladder and pancreas for its secretion. Gallbladder, we know, stores the bile juice secreted by the liver, and as in traces, it is releasing, bile is releasing by the gallbladder by its contraction. The gallbladder is a pear-shaped hollow structure located under the liver and on the right side of the abdomen. Its primary function is to store and concentrate by a yellow-brown digestive enzyme produced by the liver. That's the role of cholecystokinin. Here we need to understand when it is secreted and what is its action. Then as it is stimulating the pancreas, it's also called pancreocinin. Then gastrin, next hormone. Gastrin is secreted by the mucosa cells of duodenum and pyloric stomach. Mainly, gastrin is secreted by mucosal cells of which all parts? Pyloric. Pyloric, what is pyloric? It's the last portion of stomach. Fundus, body and pyloric. Three portions are there for stomach and the last part is pyloric, and the pyloric certain types of cells called mucosal cells. That mucosal cells, mucosal, M-U-C-O-S-A-L, mucosal cells present in pyloric as well as in the duodenum secretes the gastrin. And the word's function, it stimulates the secretion of gastric juice and HCl. This secreting hormone stimulates secretion of gastric juice and HCl and also promotes the proliferation, growth of gastric epithelium. In the gastric tract there is epithelium is there that to be replenished, and its proliferation is promoted by gastrin hormone. And its secretion is induced by what? Presence of luminal peptides and amino acids. Whenever luminal means stomach contains more peptides and amino acids, they are the digestion products of proteins. When these substances are present in the lumen, then it induces the secretion of gastrin. Okay, next, glucose insulinotropic peptide, GIP in short form. It is an inhibitory peptide hormone. All the other are stimulatory. Here it is an inhibitory. It is secreted by the mucosal cells of duodenum and jejunum. Jejunum, which part? Small intestines part. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Then jejunum. Mucosa is secreted by the mucosal cells of duodenum and jejunum. What's its function? Inhibits gastric secretion and motility whenever the food content in the stomach is over. Then there is no need of further secretion of any digestive enzyme. So to inhibit gastric secretion, that is done by which hormone? GIP. And also it stimulate, one stimulation activity also it is doing, that is stimulate the insulin secretion from where? Beta cells of pancreas, when it is required in response to increased blood glucose concentration. As the food digestion is happen, so much carbohydrates are monosaccharide units are generated in the body and it's taken up to the blood, and in the blood the glucose concentration become high. So it is dangerous to our body, it's not normal. So we need to lower the blood sugar level. For that, reducing that sugar level, insulin is required. In that moment, insulin secretion need to be stimulated, and that stimulation is done by GIP. It stimulates pancreatic beta cells to secrete insulin. Next hormone is enterogasterone. Enterogasterone is secreted by the epithelial cells of duodenum and jejunum. It's also inhibitory, inhibits the production of gastric juice and HCl. Then one more hormone, its name I didn't mention in the beginning part of this hormonal regulation area. This hormone are also there for regulating the digestive activity, and it is secreted by duodenal mucosa. Its function is it regulates contraction of smooth muscles of intestine. Okay, I put an and here. So smooth muscles of intestine. That is the function of motility. Smooth muscles of intestine as well as stomach. Okay. Next, some phases. gastrointestinal process can be divided into three phases. The neural and hormonal control of this gastrointestinal tract can be divided into three phases. First is cephalic phase. Cephalic means somewhat relating with our head, cranium, brain, something. So, when this phase, when during which time we can tell it as a cephalic phase, receptors in head got stimulated. Receptors in head means, oh, whenever there is a certain amount in front of us, what we'll do? First, we see that its color, and we are assuming that, oh, what will be its taste, and all that perceptions. It is stimulating the receptors in our head. Receptors means some receptors in tongue, the salivation, everything will happen that. All that comes under the cephalic phase. When the receptors in head are stimulated on the very sight, smell, taste, and also after we also during the time when we are chewing that food, the receptors in the head get stimulated. That phase comes under the cephalic phase. And what happens as a result of this cephalic phase? Effector pathways for this reflex. Efferent pathway, efferent or that response that we need to understand in that way. That cephalic phase, what is the response is happening? Through vagus nerve and sympathetic fibers, it activates gastrointestinal nerve plexus to start secretory and contractile activity. What is happening as a result of cephalic phase? Through which nerves that signal is passing? Through vagus nerve and sympathetic fibers. It activates what? Gastrointestinal nerve plexus. We know the nerve plexus are enteric nervous system, myenteric and submucous plexus. Now, activate gastrointestinal nerve plexus to start secretory and contractile activity. That is cephalic phase. Then gastric phase means when it happens when stomach is distended, low acidity, and presence of peptides that is the present due to the digestion of protein. When all these are present in the stomach, gastric phase started as a result of this. Through long neural reflexes results in gastric secretion. Gastrin secretion. Oh, spelling is wrong here. We should correct that. Secretion. One additional T comes here. Results in gastric secretion. As a result of gastric phase, what is happening? Through short and long neural reflexes. We know what is short neural reflex, what is long neural reflexes. Because of through these two pathways, gastrin secretion is happening. Then last is intestinal phase. That's happening here. Everything, the events are happening in the stomach. Here events are happening in the head, the mouth, everything. And last, intestinal phase. In this intestinal phase gets started when intestine is distended, when the intestine's acidity is high, when intestine osmolarity and various digestive products also change. When all this happens, intestinal phase gets initiated, and the responses, different pathways are conveyed through short and neural reflexes and results in the secretion of secretin, cholecystokinin and GIP secretion. Okay. Only this much. With this we finish this nutritional physiology chapter and today's section. Thank you.